Tonight on First at 9, this Monday the 23rd of September 2024. The incumbent Anura Kumara Dissanayake takes oath as the 9th Executive President of Sri Lanka. Newly elected President vows to secure the trust of the Sri Lankans who did not vote for him. To-do list. The Chamber of Commerce submits a list of recommendations for the newly elected President to follow in his first 6 months in office. New appointments. President makes several key administrative appointments after taking office. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena tenders resignation to the President. Next move. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's United National Party to commence talks with opposition leader Sajith Premadasa's Samagi Jana Balawegaya to reunite the two parties.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබා ගත හැක.
වැඩිම මනාපෙන් ජනතා තේරීම මෙවරත්
සුදේශී ඔරිජිනල් කුහුඹම තමයි.
This is Derana First at 9, live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I am Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Now, over the weekend, Sri Lanka elected a new executive president in one of the most hotly contested elections in the country's electoral history. Earlier this morning, President-elect Anura Kumara Dissanayake was sworn in before the Chief Justice as Sri Lanka's 9th executive president. Addressing the nation, newly elected President Anura Kumara Dissanayake asserted that he is aware of the gravity of the responsibility he has inherited and pledged that he will secure the trust and support of the Sri Lankans who did not vote for him in the election through action. Leader and presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, was declared president-elect following his victory in the 2024 presidential election that was held on the 21st of this month. This morning, President-elect Dissanayake departed from the JVP headquarters in Palavatta for the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo for his swearing-in ceremony. Representatives of the JVP-led National People's Power were joined by foreign envoys in Sri Lanka at the Presidential Secretariat for the swearing-in ceremony. President-elect Anura Kumara Dissanayake took his oath of office before Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya as the 9th Executive President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Anura Kumara Dissanayake වන මම ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතාන්ත්‍රික සමාජවාදී ජනරජයේ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව ආරක්ෂා කොට අනුගමනය කරන බවටද ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ දේශය තුල වෙනම රජයක් පිහිටුවීමට කෙලින්ම හෝ අන්‍යාකාරයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තුලදී හෝ ඉන් පිටදී ආධාර දීම අනුබල දීම අනුග්‍රහය දැක්වීම මුදල් ලියදීම ධෛර්ය දීම හෝ දේශනා කිරීම නොකරන බවද ගෞරව බහුමාන්‍ය යුක්තව ප්‍රකාශ කොට ප්‍රතිඥා දෙමි.
After assuming office, President Dissanayake received blessings from members of the Buddhist clergy. Subsequently, the newly elected president addressed the nation.
අපේ රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී විසින් මාව ජනාධිපතිවරයාට තෝරාපත් කරගෙන තිබෙනවා.
The democracy of our country has elected me to the office of president. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe accepted the people's mandate with grace. I am grateful to him for setting an example through his dedication to the democratic exchange of power. During my tenure, I am ready to demonstrate my complete dedication to strengthening democracy within our country. We have a deep understanding of the fact that we are inheriting a deeply challenging country. We do not believe that this deep crisis can be overcome by a government, a political party or an individual alone. I am not a conjurer or a magician. I am merely an ordinary citizen who was born in this country. I have strengths as well as weaknesses. There are subjects in which I am knowledgeable and there are ones in which I am not well versed. My priority is to develop my capabilities, accumulate knowledge and lead the country by taking the best possible decisions. Citizens engaged in every occupation have a great responsibility in resolving this crisis. Therefore, I expect everyone's support to fulfill this responsibility. My responsibility is to be a part of that collective effort. However, as President, I have the chief responsibility of coordinating this effort. I am ready to prove to the citizens of this country with my every action that I am ready to fulfill my responsibilities in overcoming this challenge. Our country requires international support. Therefore, despite the conflict that exists among the countries of the world, we expect to engage with each and every country in a manner that will be most beneficial for our country. We are not a country that should become isolated from the rest of the world. Rather, we are a nation that should move forward by cooperating with the rest of the world. We will not bulk from taking decisions that are required in this regard. Finally, I am aware of the magnitude and composition of my victory. Therefore, during my tenure, it falls to me to secure the support of the citizens who did not support or believe in us during the election. I firmly believe that I can succeed in this endeavor. In the future, you will be able to experience all these changes in person. I expect the support of all Sri Lankan people in accomplishing this task.
ඉදිරියේදී මේ සියල්ල ඔබට අත්දැකීමුත් අත්විඳින්න පුළුවන් වේවි. ඒ සඳහා සියලු ජනතාවගේ සහාය අපේක්ෂා කරමි. තෙරුවන් සරණයි. දෙවි පිහිටයි සියලු දෙනාටම.
Afterwards, President Dissanayake engaged in discussions with the heads of the armed forces. Following the swearing-in of the newly elected president, representatives of the president's party, the National People's Power, addressed the media.
This is a historic victory. One of the wishes of the people was fulfilled. This is a massive challenge for us, as we have to revive the country in keeping with our promise to the people. We accept the challenge. We will work methodically to deliver a thriving nation and a beautiful life to the people of this country.
This is only the beginning. We will develop this country with the support of the people. Today, you elected the final executive president of this country. In the future, there will be no more executive presidents. This president will be the one that abolishes the executive presidency. We request that all the people of the country support that endeavor.
දිරින් පත් කරනවා ඉතා ඉක්මනින්ම අගමැතිවරයා පත් කරගන්න ගියත් තීරණය කළා බය වෙන්න එපා කිව්ව දේ ඉදිරි ඉෂ්ට කරා දැන් ඔය ආගමික වතාවත් කරලා මහනුවර ගිහිල්ලා ඊට පස්සේ තුරු කාර්ය ටික බලනවා එක දවසෙම ඔක්කොම කරන්න ඕනේ නෑනේ ක්‍රමානුකූලව කරගන්න පුළුවන් අගමැතිතුරේ හම්බෙනවා කියලා කියනවා නෑ කැබිනට් අනතුරු අද මොනවත් වෙන්නේ නෑ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය හදන එක දැන් තීරණය කළාද හතර දෙනෙක් කොහමද හතර දෙනා කැබිනට් එක හදන්නේ දී පොඩ්ඩක් අපිට තාම ඒක කියන්න බෑ ඒ ටික හෙට කතා කරමු.
In the meantime, President Dissanayake visited the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy and invoked blessings. Following his visit to the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic, the president called on the chief prelate of the Malwatu chapter, the most venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Sumangala Nayaka Thera, at the Malwatu Mahavihare and received blessings. Later, President Dissanayake also met with the chief prelate of the Askiri chapter, the most venerable Warakagoda Sri Gunaratana Thera, at the Askiri Mahavihare and received blessings. Subsequently, the president visited the Pullaya Kovil in Kandy and invoked blessings.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් බලා සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Now, following his inauguration as Sri Lanka's 9th executive president, Anurekumara Dissanayake received warm congratulations from countries around the world. Leaders expressed their hopes for strengthened diplomatic ties and collaboration on global issues, reflecting a shared optimism for the future of his administration. Indian High Commissioner Santosh Jha called on President Anurekumara Dissanayake yesterday, following his election as the 9th executive president of Sri Lanka, to congratulate him on winning the people's mandate. In a post on the X platform, the High Commissioner stated that India, as Sri Lanka's civilizational twin, is committed to further deepening ties for the prosperity of both nations. Subsequently, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, also congratulated President Dissanayake. Taking to the X platform, Prime Minister Modi expressed that Sri Lanka holds a special place in India's neighbourhood first policy and Vision Sagar, adding that he looks forward to working closely to further strengthen multifaceted cooperation for the benefit of both nations and the entire region. In response, President Anurukumara Dissanayake expressed his desire to work together to strengthen ties between the two nations. Meanwhile, President of China Xi Jinping extended his well wishes to newly elected President Anura Dissanayake. A message from the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka noted that this pivotal moment marks a new chapter in bilateral relations between the two nations, fostering deeper friendship and cooperation. Additionally, the Chinese ambassador Chi Zhenhong called on President Dissanayake yesterday to congratulate him. The US ambassador Julie Chung also extended well wishes from the United States of America, emphasizing the value of the strong US-Sri Lanka partnership and readiness to collaborate on shared priorities. In her post on the X platform, she also congratulated the Sri Lankan citizens for peacefully exercising their democratic rights. In reply, President Anurukumara Dissanayake highlighted his commitment to building a brighter future for the country and expressed his eagerness to forge a stronger partnership with the US. Meanwhile, the Embassy of Japan in Sri Lanka congratulated President Anurukumara Dissanayake, adding that Japan is ready to cooperate with the new administration. Following the swearing-in of President Dissanayake this morning, Japanese Ambassador Mizukoshi Hideaki paid a courtesy call to convey his congratulations and commitment to support the new government. The President of Maldives, Dr. Mohamed Moizu, also congratulated President Dissanayake. In a message on the X platform, the Maldivian President expressed his eagerness to work with President Dissanayake to strengthen the bilateral relationship. Lastly, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, congratulated President Anurukumara Dissanayake. In a post on the X platform, he expressed that Pakistan anticipates the further strengthening of Pakistan-Sri Lanka relations. Now, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce also congratulated President Anurukumara Dissanayake on his election to office. The Chamber also provided several recommendations for the newly elected president to prioritise within the first 6 months of his tenure. In alignment with the President's election manifesto and the Ceylon Chamber's Vision 2030 document, the Chamber outlined several recommendations for the President to prioritise during the first 6 months of his term. These include completing external debt restructuring based on recent announcements from commercial creditors and continuing the IMF programme to ensure a successful third review and fourth tranche disbursement. The Chamber also recommended prioritising changes in expenditure outlined in the manifesto contingent upon credible revenue proposals that do not burden existing taxpayers. Additionally, it urged the President to reassess revenue collection matters such as RAMIS and simplified VAT. Other key recommendations include resolving the visa on arrival issue promptly, implementing digital public infrastructure and digital identification, and establishing a national implementation oversight committee to facilitate reforms. The Chamber emphasised the need to advance legislation related to the Economic Transformation Act, the Public Debt Management Act, the Public Finance Management Act and the Sri Lanka Electricity Act. Finally, the Chamber encouraged President Dissanayake to follow through on the government action plan developed based on the IMF Governance Diagnostic Assessment and to recommence trade agreement negotiations with China, India and Indonesia. Now, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed his hope that incumbent President Anurukumara Dissanayake, who has been entrusted with the country's future, will guide Sri Lanka through turbulent times and resolve the issues faced by the people. In his final address to the nation as President, Wickremesinghe highlighted that he remains committed to serving the country in times of need, even without holding power. The people of this country have given their decision at the presidential election held on the 21st of September. We must respect that decision. We must act according to the people's mandate to ensure the functioning of the country. 2 years ago, I assumed duties at an extremely turbulent time when the country was bankrupt and the economy was collapsed. I accepted this challenge at a time when no one else had the courage to face it. I successfully completed the task that history placed upon my shoulders. I was able to redeem the country from bankruptcy within a span of 2 years. I believe that this was the most important duty that I had to perform during my entire political career. I was able to reduce inflation, which stood at 70% when I assumed duty, to 0.5%. Similarly, I increased the foreign reserves, which was at $20 million when I assumed power, to $5.7 billion. Not only that, I ensured that the Sri Lankan rupee, which was at 380 against the US dollar, came down to a strong and solid amount of 300 against the dollar. Additionally, I also implemented measures to increase the country's economic growth to 2.3% from negative 7.3%. I am pleased about that. I believe that the future generation of this country will give a proper assessment on my historical political role the way it deserves. I am aware that my role in history as the ruler of this country will be decided not today but in future. I followed the correct path and saved people from hunger and sorrow. Similarly, I hope that the new president will also follow the correct path and put an end to the remaining issues that the people are facing. I was eventually able to carry the dear child called Sri Lanka along a long distance safely through an extremely difficult time. As we move closer to the end of this difficult time period, the people of this country have decided to hand over the country to President Anura Dissanayake. Mr. President, I hand over to you with much love the dear child called Sri Lanka, whom we both love very dearly. I hope that you will be able to carry this child through this crucial time period even safer than the way I did. I will be devoted to serving my motherland with or without power for the rest of my life. I wish to thank everyone who supported me as well as those who did not support me during my time as president and the citizens of this country. Thank you.
After delivering his final statement as president, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe left his office in Colombo last evening. This morning, former President Wickremesinghe met with the politicians who supported him in the 2024 presidential election. During the meeting, the group reviewed their defeat in this year's presidential election. A decision was taken for the United National Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Eksat Nidahas Peramuna, formed by the parliamentarians who supported former President Wickremesinghe, to jointly contest the upcoming parliamentary election under the symbol elephant. Meanwhile, Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, was assigned the responsibility of holding talks with the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa Samagi Janabala Vegiya in order to unite the two parties.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena tendered his resignation from the premiership to newly elected President Anura Dissanayake. However, according to the Constitution, during the period intervening between the dissolution of Parliament and the conclusion of the general election, the Cabinet of Ministers shall continue to function until the conclusion of the general election. The Constitution also states that the President may appoint one such minister to exercise, perform and discharge, or may himself exercise, perform and discharge the powers, duties and functions of the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, several governors also tendered their resignations. Accordingly, Governor of the Southern Province Lakshmana Abebewardena, Governor of the Sabaragamuwa Province Navin Dissanayake and Governor of the Central Province Attorney at Law Lalit Gamage have resigned from their posts. Now, meanwhile, President Anura Dissanayake made several new appointments to key positions in the administrative service. Accordingly, Dr. Nandika Sanat Kumar Nayaka was appointed as the new secretary to the President. In addition, retired Air Vice Marshal of the Sri Lanka Air Force H.S. Sampath Tuyakonta and retired Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police Ravi Seneviratne were appointed as the secretaries to the Ministries of Defence and Public Security, respectively. Following the swearing-in of President Anurukumara Dissanayake, several new appointments were made in the public sector today. Accordingly, Dr. Nandika Sanat Kumar Nayaka was appointed as the new Secretary to the President at the Presidential Secretariat. Accordingly, Dr. Nandika Sanat Kumar Nayaka was appointed as the new Secretary to the President at the Presidential Secretariat. Dr. Nandika Sanat Kumar Nayaka joined the government service as an Assistant Superintendent of Sri Lanka Customs in 1997. He has obtained his bachelor's degree with first-class honours from the University of Kelaniya. Meanwhile, HS Sampath Tuyakonta, a retired Air Vice Marshal of the Sri Lanka Air Force, was appointed as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Defence. Tuyakonta, who is a past pupil of Thurston College, joined the Sri Lanka Air Force in 1988. As an officer who has played a major role in humanitarian operations, he also served as the former commanding officer of the Mi-24 attack helicopter squadron. Additionally, President Anurukumara Dissanayake appointed DWRB Senaviratne as the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Security. Ravi Senaviratne, a retired Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police, has also served as a former head of the Criminal Investigation Department and a former Deputy Director of the State Intelligence Service. Senaviratne assumed duties at the Ministry of Public Security today after receiving his appointment from the President's Secretary Dr. Nandika Kumar Nayaka.
Sri Lanka Police, Agamana Vigamana Department,
Sri Lanka Police, the Department of Immigration and Emigration, the Department for Registration of Persons and National Secretariat for Non-Governmental Organizations are governed under this ministry. The new government aims to increase the efficiency of these institutions which are in place to serve the public. I request everyone's support in the journey to reach that goal.
Star dishwasher Dali Hell Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher magic tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at the latest views expressed in the political arena after the presidential election.
මොකද බර අපි දිනුවානේ නුවරලිය බදුල්ලා රෙමෙ දිනුවානේ අපි පත්ති දිනුවා ඉතින් අපේ ජනතාව අපි කියන විදිහේ ඡන්ද දෙම්මා කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ ඉදිරියට ඉදී මාම මෙතරනවා ඒකට අපි තරංග කරලා සූදානම් වෙනවා අපි අපි දිගටම යනවා සජිත කියනවා ඉතින් නායකත්වයේ වෙනසක් වෙන්න ඕනද මහමෙතිවරණේ මොකටද වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නායකත්වම ඉන්න ඕනේ ඉතින් නායකත්වයේ වෙනසක් කරනවද නායකත්වයේ වෙනසක් කිසිම වෙනසක් කවුරුත්
No one is expecting a change in the party leadership. Under Sajith Premadas's leadership, we will create a broad alliance to contest the next general election. We believe that Sajith Premadasa and his team is better suited for this task.
ඒ කණ්ඩායම තමයි සුදුසුම කියලා. අපි අලුත් ක්‍රමවේදයකට සියලු දෙනාම එකතු කරගෙන තීන්දුව ගන්න වෙනවා මහමැතිවරණයකට යන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා. තිබ්බ ක්‍රමවේදයකට ගියොත් මං හිතන හැටියට සමගි ජන බලවේගය අපේ කණ්ඩායමට අමාරු වෙනවා.
විශේෂ උපායමාර්ගික වැඩපිළිවෙලකින් තොරව මේ රට
Without a special strategic plan, this country cannot progress from its present stage. Because of that, I hope that President Anurukumara Dissanayake will be able to govern successfully. However, my belief is that this requires a strategic approach.
ඒ ප්‍රවේශය
මේගම මෙහෙම පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණයට දුවන්න පටන් ගන්නවද නැත්නම්
අනිවාර්යයෙන් අපි උත්සාහ කරේ සම්ප්‍රදායෙන්
Definitely, we are planning to deviate from tradition. We have received a great response from Jaffna to the Ondra point and it has become a motivation for us. We also had the chance to take steps to create the change that is required by the young generation. We are happy about that as well. We are planning to compete island-wide in the general election.
ඒ ගැනත් අපි සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මහමැතිවරණයේදී දිවෙන පුරාම අපි තරඟ කරන්නට
ගියපු අය මොකද කරන්නේ ගන්නවද නැත්නම්
මොකක් හරි අලුත් එකමුතුවක් හැදෙන්නත් යම් ඉඩක් තියෙනවා ඒක අපේ පැත්තෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන් නොවෙන්න පුළුවන්
දරුණු පරාජය ගැන මේ මොකද හිතෙන්නේ
පරාජයක් කියලා නම් දැනෙන්නේ නැහැ ඔක තමයි දේශපාලනයේ තත්ත්වය අපි 69 ලක්ෂයක් ගත්ත කණ්ඩායම තමයි 3,50,000ට අපි වැටිලා තියෙන්නේ ලක්ෂ 3මාර හොඳටම ප්‍රමාණවත් නැවත මේ භූමිය අපිට දේශපාලනය
ජනතාව තීන්දුවක් අරගෙන තියෙනවා
The public took a decision and we respect that. I congratulate the newly elected President Anurukumara Dissanayake and the government which he will form. We wish them good luck in delivering on their promises. Also, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will be ready to face the upcoming elections and we will review the mistakes we made during the election campaign.
ඉදිරියේ එන මැතිවරණවලට මුහුණ දෙන්න අපි සූදානම් වෙනවා
And now here's a look at some local news across the island in brief. The Criminal Investigation Department arrested the director of the Planning Division of the National Institute of Education over the controversial leak of the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination question paper. On the 20th of September, the Department of Examinations launched an investigation into the issue. Afterwards, the initial investigation report was handed over to the Criminal Investigation Department, which is currently conducting further inquiries. In the meantime, the Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Tilaka Jayasundara, announced that the paper marking process of the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination, which was held on the 15th of September, was temporarily suspended. Meanwhile, a person was shot dead at Sri Saddharma Road in Maligawatha last night. An unidentified individual who arrived on a motorcycle had opened fire at the victim and fled the scene. The fatal incident was captured on a nearby CCTV camera. Police are conducting further investigations into the incident. In other local news, a tree collapsed onto a vehicle that was transporting a group of tourists near the Dialima waterfall in Vallavaya. 2 foreign women were injured and subsequently were admitted to Koslanda Hospital for treatment. In business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange commenced the week in green today, aided by gains in the banking sector, with the turnover crossing 994 million rupees. The benchmark all-share price index closed 1.19% higher at 11,096.81 points. Trading volume on the index rose to 49.1 million shares from 43.8 million in the previous session. The S&P SL20 closed 1.88% higher at 3,160.63 points. High net worth and institutional investor participation remained subdued during the day. Mixed interest was observed in Commercial Bank, Hatton National Bank and Sampath Bank, whilst retail interest was noted in LOLC Finance, Browns Investments and SoftLogic Capital. Foreign participation in the market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers. Senior analyst of Capital Alliance, Imran Dean, joins us now with a few thoughts to round off our Markets in View segment for the week.
Last week, the domestic equity market experienced a slight increase, while the S&P SL20 jumped 3.93% to close at 3,102 from 2,980. The ASPI rose 2.66% from 10,683 to 10,967. Aside from these cutbacks, market turnover fell by 64.4% to 3.6 billion rupees. The government raised 161 billion rupees last week to treasury bill auctions. Throughout the auction, interest rates rose by 50 and 52 basis points for 3 and 6 month bills, while 12-month bills remained constant. Internationally, all 3 major US market indices ended the week higher.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.